and done. Gone. We started. Jai Shriman Narayan, Jai Jagannath.
Jai Shriman Narayan, Mataji, Jai Jagannath. Thank you for hosting this session today and for taking the time to answer my questions and to address my inquiries.
My pleasure, my duty, and my honor. Tell.
Well, there is a topic, Mataji, that I feel that warrants further discussion, and one where perhaps there has been some confusion. And I think that anyone who starts researching about Hinduism and Sanatana Dharma always comes across a number of terms, and they struggle with these terms sometimes conceptually.
Yeah.
These terms are Shakti, and they come across Prakriti. So, and what they understand is that it's the divine feminine. And some people say it's an energy of the Lord. Some people say that it's material energy. Some people say it's inanimate energy. Some people say there's one Shakti. Some people say there's lots of Shaktis. Some people say Shakti is. Some people say Shakti is Prakriti. Some people say the exact opposite. So this has created a lot of confusion. And what I'd like to understand, Mataji, taking it right back to source, is what is Shakti and how does Shakti express herself in life and in our spiritual practice. And I think this is something that I'd like to understand in greater depth, given some of the perhaps
especially clarifying misconceptions.
Absolutely, and if we need to make this a two-part series, if we go beyond that first hour, so be it. But I think, given its importance, Mataji, in us building a foundation, I think it might warrant a more detailed discussion. So thank you for your time and love to hear your thoughts.
Okay. The first thing that comes to my mind is a quote from the shastra, the Vedic scriptures. I think it's from the Upanishads. It said, Parasya Shakti Vividhaiva Shruyate. Shruyate, in the Shruti, it is said that a para, the supreme, Vividhaiva, many Shakti, unlimited Shaktis. But all these unlimited Shaktis are actually manifestations of the one Shakti. So that's the addressing your question, if there is one Shakti, more Shakti, lots of Shakti, two Shakti.
And which specific text is that from, Mataji?
I don't remember. Let me find out. I think I can find out from the quick Google search.
And whilst you're looking at that, Mataji, I think that and I'll be absolutely honest, Mataji, I'm at the stage where I'm very happy to I'm very happy to admit my shortcomings, and I think that sometimes, Mataji, coming from a milieu that is perhaps Abrahamic, you view God as male, and you always I'm only just being honest with you, Mataji, and candid, is that you view God as male and you attach the term he with God. So then all of a sudden understanding Shakti is slightly strange for us. So I don't want to say that I am gender biased, but I may have been gender biased in my approach.
I got it. Okay, first of all, let's start with the quote. Where is this Parasya Shakti? It is Svatara Upanishad 6.8.
Right, Svatara Upanishad 6.8, that's really helpful.
Svatara Upanishad 6.8, Parasya Brahmana Shakti Tatadam Akhilam Jagat, Vishnu Purana. Tatadam Akhilam Jagat, which means that everything in the material world is the manifestation of the Shakti of the Parambrahman. Now, this quote is also found in other places, but, Shvetasvatara Upanishad, I think it's good enough. Now,
I think it's more than good enough.
Thank you. Okay. Well, I heard it from the source that we also know and we are not mentioning. It's several times mentioned in the Bhagavata Purana, the Srimad Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrita, whatever. Anyway, Shvetasvatara Upanishad 6.8 is the original quote. Now, this problem that you have described is due to the fact that the people think that they are studying the shastra, but they are looking at the shastra through their lens, opinion, if we want to say, belief, conditioning, of material identification and attachment. They project their material limitations on God. So the Shastra, again, I heard it several times, I don't remember exactly the place, but I think it's in the Rig Veda. And he's saying that God is both male and female. It's not that God is male and his Shakti is female. The problem of the Abrahamic influence has been, unfortunately, absorbed by Indian culture from the times of the Muslim invasions. And, because Hinduism in general is very tolerant and accommodating. And up to a point, the people who wanted to keep the Muslims happy. And they wanted to keep the British happy. And they wanted to keep the Christians happy here and there in the United States and everywhere. So they adapted a little bit the package to make it more palatable to Abrahamics. Like, for example, we have seen, the depiction of Lakshmi kneeling at the feet of Vishnu, massaging the feet of Vishnu.
Yes, that's a very common sacred image that we come across. Yes.
But very recent. Yeah.
Right. That's less well known.
Yeah. And in the same way, we see all the, lots of pictures, and especially in the temples, God, forbid. But that in the places where they have been subject to Abrahamic and special Muslim influence, we see the deities very fully dressed.
Yes.
And, this is very Abrahamic. Because if we go to South India, where we didn't get so many Muslims everywhere, just in specific places like the Bahmani sultans, like that. But otherwise, in general, South India was less.
These areas weren't affected by the Abrahamic invasion as much, basically.
Yeah. So, we see that the depictions of the deities, and even in what has been left in the rest of India from before the Muslims, we see that the deities, especially the female deities, have more ornaments than clothes. But the Indian Hindus have become so brainwashed that they call these things indecent.
Yes.
Because they are they have been deeply conditioned by the Abrahamic idea that the body is bad, indecent, dirty, inferior. And because the body is connected to the female energy, to the mother, it's a mother that gives the body. Similarly, they have the same idea about women. So body, women, the healthy pleasures of life, they are all scorned and demonized by the Abrahamic cultures. And the Indian Hindus have, swallowed the whole thing, and they say, hook,
line and sinker. Hook, line and sinker, yeah, absolutely.
And that's a disaster, because they have become so repressed and so aggressive and so, cruel and negative towards women that at some point, in ancient times, in Vedic times, the travelers from other places were astonished to see that the women in a Vedic culture, in Vedic Raj, they were so free and happy and everything. So what happened? Why they treat the women so well? Why they don't have slaves? Why they don't cover up? Why they don't, because people were happy. Yeah.
So what you're saying here is that the position of the feminine was very different.
Yes.
And the idea of the feminine being subservient. You've touched on the sacred image where Lakshmi is sort of massaging the feet of Narayana, and you're saying that even that is recent.
Very recent.
So this reflects a cultural shift, perhaps induced by Abrahamic influences. So I think that's a very good backdrop, actually, to the modern indoctrination.
Yes. Yeah. So because the Muslims came to India already in the 700, not in 1700, in 700. So maybe they didn't dominate the entirety of India for all the time or whatever, but the influence has become very strong, especially in the places where they were more powerful. Like, for example, if you go to Rajasthan and Gujarat, you see women, they practically cover their face, the Hindu women. They keep this uttariya, this upper shawl or something, they're even keeping it with the teeth to cover, the eyes and almost even the mouth. You go to South India, that there's not one lady who thinks that she should cover her head. Not one. They put flowers in their hair. They don't cover their head. So we need to understand that lots of the tendencies that we think are Hindu or Vaishnava or whatever, they're actually not. And specifically, this view, this vision of the Shakti, of the feminine aspect of God, is, in strong and urgent need of some, clarification. Now, so in the ancient depictions, you see, Shakti and Shaktiman sitting side to side, or, standing and embracing, We have seen lots of them, both Vishnu, Lakshmi, or Shiva, Parvati, they're just standing and embracing and, very relaxed. And both have very little clothes, but lots of ornaments. So the ornaments were considered the most important thing, because the ancient Vedic, the original Vedic culture loved beauty. Loved beauty and happiness and pleasure and life and, fertility, not in the sense of, animal husbandry, that they have to produce more objects, more wealth, in the form of children, This is so Abrahamic. In the Abrahamic, well, not only Abrahamic, because that started before, the first Abrahamic story was put down. It started with the Asuras, coming from, coming from the Yakshas, Rakshasas, and everything, which the colonial Indologists describe as Indo-Europeans or Aryans. So this is a very good example of totally, turning reality upside down with propaganda. Zoroaster,
So what you're saying effectively is this, a lot of what we think is Shakti, or what we perceive as the divine feminine, a lot of it is the preconditioning as a result of more modern influences, in essence, Mataji. So that really sets a good backdrop for
exactly.
For a reset.
Exactly. So we start by saying that, okay, maybe, much of what you think is not coming from the Vedic knowledge. Okay, it's coming from somewhere else, and in fact, it's coming from the opposite of Vedic knowledge. Just like Zarathustra presented the Devas as devils, and the great Asura, the Maha Asura, as God, the Ahura Mazda. So this was, a very prominent point, and then the Abrahamic, scholars, they openly accept the Zoroastrian religion as the root of their own religion. They wrote, that we have Oxford lectures on this subject. Anyway, so this is the backdrop, as you said. Now, let's go and see what the actual Vedic knowledge says about it. Now, the concept of Shakti literally means power, right?
Yes, being of Indian descent, the word is used a lot as you'll go to the gym to get Shakti.
Exactly.
So yes.
Exactly.
That's right.
Exactly. Shakti literally means power. Well, Tantra means control. Power in the sense of control. But, okay, Shakti, let's start with Shakti. Shakti is the power, the source of all powers. It's all power. So, when we say Parasya Shakti Vividhaiva Shriyate, it means the Supreme has many Shaktis, which are all, as I was mentioning earlier, are all manifestation of the one original Shakti, who is literally called Adi Shakti. You heard this definition?
Yes,
as well.
Adi Shakti. Adi Shakti, absolutely.
The Adi
and where
Shakti.
Is that text from? Where is that from, Mataji?
Oh, Adi Shakti is very common, like saying karma. Where is the word karma coming from? It's common knowledge.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So Adi Shakti is the original Shakti, of the Supreme, of the Brahman. Brahman, as we said, is both male and female. Okay. Now, when, for example, we have, I believe that's Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, when we have Yajnavalkya, who is asked, who's asking Rishi, I don't remember which one, how many gods there are. You know, so it goes down to 3, 2, 1. You know, the point is that the Supreme is one. Okay, the Supreme Brahman is one. Krishna says Vasudeva Sarvamiti. You know, when we say that God is omnipresent, it means omnipresent. When we say that God is omnipotent, it means omnipotent. Now, when the Brahman manifests, how the Brahman manifests? When it not separates, because it's not a real separation, but it is a distinction between the Shakti and the Shaktiman. It's never a separation, because Shaktiman can never be Shaktiman without Shakti, because, you know, like, we cannot say that someone is a father if he doesn't have any children. Okay? We cannot say that someone is a cook if they never cooked anything. You know, doesn't know how to cook. You know, so because it's
you can't separate the dish.
Yeah.
You can't separate the dish from the chef.
Yeah, exactly. If we say you're talking about omnipotent, Vishnu literally means omnipotent. Vishnu, you know, means omnipotent. How can you separate the potency from the omnipotent? You take away the potency from the omnipotent, and the omnipotent is powerless. Powerless. There was one person that one person I know who is disciple of Narad Maharaj. So he was shocked because Narad Maharaj said that without Shakti, Krishna is impotent. It's nothing. It would be only the impersonal Brahman.
Yes. So effectively, Mataji, that the analogy you've made there about if you say that God is omnipotent, but you don't talk of the potency.
Yeah.
How does your statement have any validity?
Exactly. Doesn't stand.
That makes sense.
Doesn't make sense. So what is this power that we call Shakti? It's a power of manifestation and action. Krishna in Bhagavad Gita explains very clearly that the Atman, Brahman, does not act. Whenever the Atman or Brahman acts, it's through the Shakti. It's the Shakti or Prakriti that manifests everything and acts, functions.
So,
yeah.
Fantastic, because I'm going to ask a question on this very topic, and tell me if we're going to cover this later. But I thought I'd ask it now since you mentioned it.
Yeah.
You've mentioned Shakti and Prakriti. Now, for those of us who read the Bhagavad Gita, we come across the term Prakriti a lot, but equating to material nature.
No.
Well, I'm talking about what we think it is. I'm not talking about what it is.
Yeah.
So my question to you here is Prakriti and Shakti the same? That's my first question.
Yeah.
And my second question is, if it is a material nature, what is it? That's
no. Prakriti is not the material nature, and Shakti is not the material nature. There are two main manifestations of Prakriti or Shakti. Para Prakriti and Apara Prakriti. Never heard about those?
I've heard of them, but I've never seen them. I've never heard them being qualified. So I'd love to hear what they are and what the differences are.
Yes. The Para Shakti, or superior or supreme energy, is Yoga Maya. Yoga Maya manifests the spiritual forms, including the spiritual forms of the Supreme Brahman. Parashakti, or Yoga Maya, is also called Ladini Shakti. Because Ishvara manifests forms, names, qualities, and everything else for the purpose of pleasure. This is the supreme Prakriti, or the supreme Shakti, Yoga Maya. Now, why we call it Maya? Because when we see the manifestations of the deities, manifestations of Ishvara, these forms, names, and everything appear to be limited. But that's illusion, that's not a fact, because they're actually unlimited. This is why it's called Maya, Yoga Maya.
And you've mentioned Yoga Maya is the responsible for the avatars seeming to appear and disappear, whereas in reality they're everywhere.
Exactly.
Now, it's interesting. You've talked about para and apara, and here I am in my neophyte state thinking, but Mataji's not talked about Prakriti. Is Prakriti the same as Shakti? So, no, my point, Mataji, is Shakti the same as Prakriti?
Maya is one and the same, but it can be, I remember there is that, example, Yoga Maya is the centripetal force, while as Mahamaya, she is the centrifugal force. But it's always force. You can have electricity, and with electricity you can run a fridge and you can run a heater.
Exactly. So my point, Mataji, is that, so therefore should I regard Prakriti and Shakti as the same, effectively, equivalent? Because some people will tell me Prakriti equates to material energy, and then they get confused regarding Shakti. But am I to believe that
because Prakriti is not, they got it wrong. Because they think that Prakriti can only mean apara Prakriti. They cannot understand that Prakriti also means para Prakriti. So we have in Bhagavad Gita, I think it's chapter 13, if I'm not mistaken, and it's explaining about let me see, I am also opening again Google. Bhagavad Gita.
And whilst you're doing that, the point being here is that we should not separate Prakriti from Shakti. It's the same in essence, Mataji.
Yeah.
You have what you call Apara Prakriti, which is Prakriti responsible for manifestation in the material world, in the material sense, and then you have you've mentioned that as Apara Prakriti, and then you've got Para Prakriti, which is the perhaps quote unquote higher forms of Prakriti, responsible, for instance, Yoga Maya a form of Para Prakriti, Mataji?
It is the same, one and the same, yes.
One and the same, correct. I just wanted to clarify that, because some people say, Prakriti is just the reason why a table is a table, and that's it, basically. Nothing. It's God's inferior form of material energy. You're saying it's a lot more nuanced than that explanation, basically.
Yeah. So, chapter 13, it's, here it is translated Kshetra, Kshetragya, Vibhaga Yoga. Sometimes Purusha and Prakriti. So, if we see, now I haven't opened my edition of Bhagavad Gita, but it's it's explaining the introduction to the chapter. It's it explains that the Prakriti is the manifestation and action of on the transcendental level, which enables us to approach God in a relationship, because we cannot easily meditate and relate with the formless. So out of the desire for pleasure, which is totally divine, which is totally good, Ishvara, God, the Supreme Purusha, manifested through his own Prakriti. So we have all the different forms of God, of Ishvara. We have Krishna and Ram, and we have all the different aspects of Krishna, like the Parthasarathi is in a particular mood, or Dwarkadish is in a particular mood, Vrindavan, Bihari, Krishna is in another particular mood. They appear to be different. But why they appear to be different? In form and name and qualities and activities, because the interaction, the relationship that Ishvara has with the Jivatmas through these apparently different manifestations creates happiness and pleasure. So this is the Ladini Shakti. The potency, the power of pleasure of God. Yoga Maya is the Ladini Shakti. There's no difference.
So the point here, Mataji, is there's many forms of Shakti, number one, and there's transcendental forms and more material forms.
No.
Well,
no.
Transcendental. You talk about transcendental.
They say
no.
They're not material forms. They're never material forms, because Shakti is also Brahman. Okay.
Oh yes.
So Shakti is never material, but
indeed
it manifests material.
Manifests
forms.
Materially. Yes, it manifests materially.
Manifests material forms, not over self.
Indeed, correct. So absolutely. So we're talking about there are some that manifest as transcendental forms, and there's some that manifest as material forms. This could be the terminology in essence, depending
Basically,
on
these
function.
are the two functions of Shakti. The
Indeed.
transcendental form and the forms, plural, that creating, manifesting the material forms, and the other one manifesting the spiritual forms. Now,
that's wonderful, because even to get to that level, you can understand the level of conditioning, because I thought, the reason why the table appears here is because of Prakriti, which is a material form, material energy. You can understand how crude I can understand now how crude that sounds, if that makes sense, Mataji. Because it's never material.
Definitely.
The manifestation might be material, but like the table, but it's
material
not a
elements.
material. Yes, absolutely. Whereas the appearance of Narasimha is purely transcendental, and that is Yoga Maya, if that makes sense, Mataji.
Yes, totally. That's exactly the point. That's why, it's the internal energy, we can say, in respect to the external energy. Internal energy means what goes towards the center. External energy is that what expands outside, towards the outside, external. Now, the internal means that we are also Atman Brahman. We can find our transcendental existence and nature inside ourselves, not outside. That's the concept of internal energy. We can find Yogamaya inside ourselves because God is in the heart of everyone, right? So they say.
Yes.
And with God, all the Shaktis are there, and specifically the internal Shakti is internally. Now, when we talk about the material manifestation, in which Maya takes the function of Mahamaya, Mahamaya is always the same Maya, but is expressing itself, the manifestations of Brahman at a different frequency, different level. But another big misconception is that the material world is a jail, is a prison, is a bad place.
Yes.
This is not the Vedic idea. Adi Shankar mentioned that samsara is terrible. It's an ocean of material existence, but it's not the material world, it's a material existence.
It's the consciousness.
It's a consciousness of identification and attachment with the material things. But the material world in itself is created as a nice place.
Yes.
For us to develop.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So, Mataji, the next question, it's so interesting you've touched on this now, and you've touched on the Atman. So it's really interesting because when they talk of the different levels of, I'm talking again. This is a gross misconception, but so again, this needs clarification. And you've mentioned Atman, so this is the reason why I wanted to sort of raise it. Now, if there is talk of different levels of Prakriti, and the higher levels relate to the Atman, you've talked about the Atman now, how should we truly understand the relationship of the Shakti to Atman, Mataji?
Oh, the Shakti is the mother, there is no doubt about it. Now, when we see that God is the father and mother. Okay. Now, because God is both male and female at the same time. We as Jivatman are of the same nature of God, the same identity and nature. So we are also male and female at the same time. And we are, metaphorically, we are the children of the father and the mother. So we have both the characters, the spiritual DNA, of both father and mother.
Yes.
That's why the Jivatma, is sometimes called Tatastha Shakti.
Yes. Can you talk a little bit about that? Because it's a word that's bandied a lot. Everyone who's anyone, and I've heard this talked about, and I haven't summoned up the courage ever to ask people because they've been deep what it means. What does that actually mean, Mataji? If that Tatastha Shakti, that would be really, really interesting to understand more.
Tatastha is also, I believe, it's also the name of the Karnataka Ocean, the ocean of the causes. Which means the first step in the manifestation of the material world, which is not the material universe. The material world is composed of innumerable universes. Okay, now Brahman, we have seen, it is not limited by any form, but desires to interact, because interaction brings pleasure, brings happiness. So in the beginning, I think that's also in some of the Upanishads, they say eko bahusyat. From one wanted to manifest as many. So this is the beginning of the concept of duality. So the duality, again, not separated, but made a distinction between the Purusha and the Prakriti. So the Purusha manifested as the classic, Purusha avatars. The 3 Purusha avatars. This is one of the first things that, impressed me a lot, is the 3 Purusha avatars, Karanodakashayi Vishnu, Garbhodakashayi Vishnu, and Kshirodakashayi Vishnu. Why are they called Purusha avatars? Because they're avatars. And the avatars of the Purusha, as distinct from the Prakriti. Now, the Mahavishnu, or Karanodakashayi Vishnu, is not separated from the Prakriti, but is lying inside the Prakriti. Because the Prakriti is also the mother of God. The Prakriti, the Para-Prakriti, is also manifested in the forms of God, so it's also the mother of God. So this Para-Prakriti manifests as the Mahatattva, the ocean of the causes, the Viraja, the Tatastha. Tatastha, I believe, means what is established. So it is an eternal existence of the material manifestation. That is the sum total of all the material elements.
That's what Tatastha Shakti is, Mataji.
Yeah, original. The ocean of the causes, the Karana. Indeed. Karana Udaka. Okay.
Indeed.
Now, but this Viraja, this Tatastha, this Mahatattva, is not fully material. It's not exclusive. It's actually the Shakti that manifests on the material level. It manifests the body of Mahavishnu as Yogamaya and manifests the material elements as Mahamaya. So what happens is then Mahavishnu emanates all the universes and also emanates all the jivas. The jivas emanate from what we call Brahma Jyoti, which is the radiance of the body of Mahavishnu. It's light. The body of Mahavishnu is made of light. When Krishna explains in Bhagavad Gita, the Atman is like a sun, radiant like a sun.
Yes.
And the body of Brahman is also radiant like the sun, even more.
Yes.
So that is called the Brahma Jyoti. So we are, as Jivatmas, we are emanated by Mahavishnu in the material world.
Yes.
So we never fell from Vaikuntha or Goloka Vrindavan or any, other place.
So how does Tatastha Shakti relate to the Atmans, Mataji? Because I've heard that being bandied about a lot, and I wanted to understand that.
Tatastha Shakti is the how to explain it? Is the ground on which the Atman is developing.
That's no. I mean, that's a very good explanation. I mean, it's just the Atman develops, isn't it? Can you talk a little bit about that, because that's
because
again,
it's a river, I think that was Bhagavinoda was explaining that it's like a river. There is one bank of the river is the spiritual world, and the other bank is the material world. The Tatastha is the river in between. That's why it's called Viraja.
So the notion, Mataji, that Prakriti equates the Shastras normally, quote unquote normally, equates Prakriti to inanimate material energy.
No, the Shastras don't do that. No.
It's complete nonsense, isn't it?
No, the Shastras don't do that. No, they don't do that. They can, the people who say that, they are confusing the
the manifestation of the
they're confusing the owner of the dairy farm with the cow.
No. I mean, that makes total sense, because we've already distinguished between earlier on that Prakriti is transcendental, but the manifestation of Prakriti is sometimes material.
Yeah, one of the functions of Prakriti is apara Prakriti, which means manifesting the material elements. We can say that manifestation of Prakriti consists of the gunas, and the gunas manifest the material elements. But the three gunas are the Shakti, they're, when Krishna said, Daivi hi esha gunamai, mama maya duratyaya.
And do you know why, Mataji, this again sounds, that misconception is so erroneous, is because, and another time we'll do a session on the Nasadiya Suktam. It's because I read the Nasadiya Suktam from the Rig Veda recently, and they were talking about they were talking about Prakriti, and there's nothing material about the time before creation, is there, Mataji? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. But that's why Krishna say Daivi Shakti. Doesn't say material Shakti.
So
the problem is I think the expression Prakrita Sahajya, by which Prakrita has become translated as materialist. But Prakrita Sahajya means someone who is very simple by nature and attached to nature, but in a simple way. Sahajya means simple.
Yes.
It doesn't. It doesn't mean material. Prakriti indeed, can be both. Is Daivi. Is in fact. It's not.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So what we've clarified now is Prakriti is very much transcendental. Prakriti is indeed, and Prakriti is synonymous with Shakti, and Prakriti is has para and apara forms, which basically translate into manifestations, materially. Functions.
Yeah.
So there's different functions of Prakriti, which Prakriti is which is completely transcendental, but sometimes some of the outcomes, some of the manifestations of Prakriti appear to us to be material in
that's exactly the point. Appear to be, but they appear to be material because of our material consciousness, not because the elements are material.
So let's now that we've established these concepts, my next question is, and you'll probably guess this here, is because we've now established the significance of Shakti. you've talked at the very beginning very nicely about, which allowed me to understand the fact that how can God be omnipotent if you don't know what the potency is, if you haven't defined the potency? So my next question, Mataji, really relates to Shiva. You've talked about Shakti, you've talked in the, and again, this is again a misconception coming in here. Picture it from the average neophyte. They're reading the Bhagavad Gita. They speak of Shri Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita, talking about, my energy, one of my energies is Prakriti, etc. But then you've got Shiva. So where does Shiva fit in the mix, here?
Yeah. Well, we mentioned sometimes already, I think, the Brahma Samhita, that is so famously, recited by our friends. That at some point it explains in one of the verses in the prayers of Brahma, it says, Yatha dadi vikara vishesha yogat, sanjayate nahitata pritagasti hetu. Yat Shambhutam apitata samupaiti karyat. Shambhu, Shiva, is none other than Vishnu, but when it is in contact with the material energy, the Mahamaya, which is not materially, but manifests the material things. So the point is, in the material world, Shiva is the manifestation of Vishnu in the material world. Now, Mahavishnu is also called Sadashiva, the eternal Shiva. Shiva is also one of the names of Vishnu. We are going to, we can see the Vishnu Sahasranam, the 1,000 names of Vishnu. Shiva is there. They are not different persons. If we think that Vishnu and Shiva are different persons, we are projecting our, duality idea based on material limited identification.
So the point, Mataji, here is that when Vishnu comes into contact with material energy, Vishnu becomes Shiva. Is that right, Mataji, basically?
He is called Shiva.
He is called, not becomes, that's duality.
Yeah, it doesn't become something else.
So when Vishnu comes in contact with, because I don't like to use the word material world, it means that more.
Yeah, well, that's the conventional expression. Of course, it's not material, but we call it material, but it's okay.
But the interposition of Vishnu with material energy is Shiva, in effect, Mataji. So my point here is, how should we regard Shiva's relationship then with, and again we see this beautiful sacred image of Shiva with his Trishul, etc. So, how should we regard that? How should we regard Shiva's relation? Because again, Mataji, I'm asking very, very neophytic questions, which is, we've talked about Shri Krishna. Why is there a need for Shiva when you already have Vishnu? And this is a very simple question, and trust me, I know the answer, but I'd love to hear your talk on this, which is, why is there a need for Shiva when we already have Vishnu? If that makes sense.
Yeah, but Shiva, we already said Vishnu and Shiva are not different persons. So when
is there a need? Why is there a need?
Why there is a need? We already have Vishnu. Why we need Krishna? Why we need Ram? So
no, absolutely. It's just, again, I was just thinking, and I know the answer to this. And you've talked previously about the idea of the relation. When we did the session on the divine couple, you talked a bit about the fact that the relationship between Parvati and
Yes,
Shiva, the Leela,
yes.
the Leela has distinctions between the Leela between Radha and Krishna.
Yeah.
And you highlighted that very nicely. And I wondered whether that had relevance here, Mataji.
Yeah, well, of course, the mother of the mother goddess, we can say, the Shakti, manifests also in various, sentiments, we can say. So also the Purusha manifests in various sentiments. The Purusha is the perception. Rasa Vaisa. Rasa means perception. Yes. Okay. So the Purusha manifests in different perceptions, different but one, again, because it's different aspects of the perception. So, for example, when he manifests as Shiva, he's working, we could say, acting, as the Supreme Guru, who is, in the material world to help the jivas, to teach them, to give them a good example, to give them, instructions and take care of them. That's why Shiva is also called Pashupati, Bholenath, or, all these specific Bhutanath and whatever. So Shiva is Vishnu when he takes care of the jivas. Vishnu doesn't take care of the jivas. In this particular function as Vishnu. Vishnu is by himself, he is not exactly interacting a lot with jivas. When Vishnu wants to interact with the jivas, he either, functions as Shiva or as one of especially the Leela avatars.
The avatars, yes.
And especially Rama and Krishna.
Indeed. This brings me nicely to my next point. So, Mataji, we've established the significance of Shakti here. Now, and again, I'm going to highlight a misconception.
Okay.
Shakti is simply an energy of Krishna.
Okay.
No. This is. I mean, I'm only telling you what.
No, I like the simply.
Shakti is simply. I mean, we've moved from one simply, which is
sure.
Prakriti is simply a material, is material nature.
Funny.
We've now moved to another simply, which is Shakti is simply one of Krishna's energies. Is an energy. So you almost get this viewpoint that Shakti is subordinate and is under the control of Krishna. Could you expand on whether this is true?
Well, that's not what the Brajabasis believe. They believe and they show that Krishna is worshipping Radha.
Yes.
Isn't that true?
Yes.
So,
but how should we regard? I mean, we're talking about as a metaphysical foundation.
We need.
How should we regard?
We need first of all to make a distinction between the Abrahamic mentality and the Vedic mentality, because if we are not able to separate the two non-compatible mentalities, we make a big mess. If we have two non-compatible ingredients in a recipe, the result can only be messy.
Yes.
So we need to become able, to separate, to distinguish the two, and see what is coming from where. Because, otherwise we get what is called speculation, opinion, which is not the shastra praman. We need to go to get, to the source of the shastra. the Shastra Praman is the point. Now, if we understand the ABC from the Shastra, then we become able to understand also the, second grade lessons. But we need to start from the first grade lessons. As long as we don't understand the basics of overcoming the material identification and attachment, material consciousness, as long as we don't overcome the bodily concept of life, we are not going to understand anything else. We can try to go to the Rig Veda and the Upanishads and, the Bhakti Shastra, whatever, but we'll just make a lot of speculations, opinions. So it's dangerous, because sometimes we can actually, guess it right, but what if we guess it wrong? That's why we always need to verify. And whenever we see something
Indeed.
that seems to be contradictory, if we have a guru, we should, verify with the guru. But basically, we all have the Shastra. Even if you don't have a guru, you have
Indeed.
the Shastra.
And
yeah.
Indeed.
Yeah, I hope it's clearer.
It is. It is clear. So, Mataji, the final point of sort of this wonderful discussion really relates to the specific manifestations of Shakti as various Devis. So, imagine the neophyte like me. We see Saraswati, we see Kali, we see Durga, we see, we see all these beautiful, we see all these beautiful manifestations. So, they're thinking, we see Vagdevi, we see so
there
many
is a
different
science.
types.
It's a very interesting science.
Indeed.
That is,
So again, there's a misconception coming in, or a neophyte, which is like, Saraswati is the goddess of books and education and learning. Kali is the goddess of, people then stumble on that one, and then they say, Lakshmi is the goddess of wealth and beauty, and they're all Hindu goddesses. That's one explanation. You then get the more refined folk who say, actually, these are all. They have these secondary attributes, but they also have primary attributes in which they are Shakti, but they're unable to be more specific than that. So again, the average neophyte like myself is looking at this and thinking, how should we view all these manifestations? What should be the correct way to approach this?
Traditionally, according to the Shastra, which include, because the Tantra, we have three broad categories of Tantra, which are the Vaishnava Tantra, the Shaiva Tantra, and the Shakta Tantra, which are not in competition, are not contradicting each other. They're not sectarian, okay? But they have to be understood all together to understand the totality of Ishvara, of Param Brahman. Now, in the Tantras, we have a lot of instructions about these things that you were talking about. And in the Vaishnava Tantra, it also talks about the Shaktis, So it's not that you only go to the Shakta Tantras to learn about the Shaktis. But if you want to actually understand better Shaktis, if you go to the Tantra, the Shakta Tantra, you definitely have more information, more clarity, more precision. So basically, according to the tradition, for example, you see Navaratri, okay? Navaratri is a very famous and established celebration. So Navaratri is also called Durga Puja. So Durga is also called Yogamaya. So Durga is the Adi Shakti. That is the sister of Vishnu. In Bhagavata Purana is the sister of Vishnu. So which means identical to Vishnu. So this Adi Shakti, Durga, manifests as Kali, Lakshmi and Saraswati. So the first 3 days of Navaratri, 3 nights of Navaratri are dedicated to Mother Kali. The next 3 nights to Mother Lakshmi. And the last 3 nights to Mother Saraswati. So what is Kali? Mother Kali is time, which is the first manifestation of the Adi Shakti in the material world. And it is an avatar of Durga, practically speaking. But as the time is eternal. So Kali and Kala are brother and sister. So we have the Bija mantra for Kali that we chant in the Mula mantra for Krishna. Klim is a Bija mantra for Kali. Okay? So we cannot separate Kali from Kala. Now,
right, yes. Yes, you've mentioned Kali in relationship to time previously as well. So
Kali is time. And in Krishna Bhagavad Gita, it says, Kalos me, I am Kala. Why does he say that?
What you're saying, Mataji, is that Shakti, in the form of Durga, manifests as Kali,
yes,
Saraswati,
Lakshmi and Saraswati.
Yes.
In that order. Now, Kali is the time. Lakshmi is the prosperity, beauty, the creation of everything nice. Sugar and spice and everything nice. But it's also the power. In the Lakshmi Stuti, in some Lakshmi Stuti, she's called Asura Bhayankari. She's the terrorizing the Asuras. So she's not, a meek girl who needs, no. She is a power. She's Shakti. So Mahalakshmi is the consort of Vishnu in the sense that it complements the aspects of Vishnu. While Kali is a sister in the sense that she is identical to Krishna, to Vishnu, Lakshmi is complementing the aspects, the qualities of Vishnu. So she is the medium, the channel.
It's so important because some people say, oh, the highest form of Shakti is Lakshmi because of Sriman Narayana. But what you're saying, this isn't quite true. It's what
it's not exactly.
Vishnu.
It's that's why metaphorically they are called the sister and the consort, the wife, if we want to say, But that's not the wife in the human or even patriarchal sense. So Lakshmi is the manifestation of prosperity, of beauty and abundance, of the manifestation of good things, nice things, the goodness. Lakshmi is the consort of Vishnu because Vishnu is the Gunavatar of Sattva and Lakshmi is Sattva. The personification of Sattva. Then Saraswati is coming next because Saraswati is the sound. It's Vak. Vak. The sound which is the origin of the manifestation of all the material energy. That's why she's associated with Brahma. She's not the wife of Brahma. She is associated with Brahma, because Brahma manifest the various things in the universe through sound, through Vak, through Saraswati. So Saraswati is the personification of the word, of knowledge, of sound, of harmony, but harmony that creates all the material manifestations. Now, each one of these can also manifest as avatars. So Vishnu can manifest directly as avatar, so Adi Shakti can also manifest as avatar. So we have, for example, Parvati. Parvati is an avatar of Shakti, of Adi Shakti. It's not a separate goddess, because she's the wife of Shiva. No.
And neither is Kali then. Kali is not a separate being, a separate goddess from Durga, effectively.
They're not separate goddesses, they're different forms of the goddess. Just like all the Vishnu avatars are not separated, are not different persons. Rama is not different from Krishna.
So Mataji, is Durga the original manifestation of Shakti? Is it Durga then, Mataji? That is and then can you explain a little bit, because you mentioned that at the beginning, and I wanted to ask you that Durga is the sister of Vishnu, and Srimad Bhagavatam speaks of that. So therefore, is Parvati an avatar of Durga?
Yes. But we usually consider Durga, the actual name of Durga, is more applied to the material function of Durga. Otherwise, she's called Vaishnavi or she's called Adi Shakti. Durga specifically applies mostly to her to the realm of the material world, the material manifestation. And in fact, Kali only exists in the material world, like Shiva only exists in the material world. But that doesn't mean they're material. That form exists, it manifests in the material world, but in the spiritual world, it is called in another way. Because time does not exist in the spiritual world. You understand?
No, I completely understand. And this is, a lot of this is something that isn't known, because it's a foundation that is essential, but I had no idea of its true essence, Mataji, which I think is very important.
Yeah, sure. That's why we need to broaden our mentality a little bit. If we don't give up the identification with the limitations of time and space and individuality and duality, like, Shiva is different from Vishnu, the competition, it's Durga is not Lakshmi. Oh, no, we only want Lakshmi, we don't want Durga. That's stupid. That's material mentality, that, very limited, narrow-minded, we can say.
Yes.
Okay.
So, Mataji, I have one final question in this particular session, and I don't know if you think it requires a whole discussion in itself. But
let's see.
There's a famous picture of Mark Ali standing on Shiva, and
yes.
And people struggle to answer when I say, can you please describe this picture, and can you please tell me the significance of it, the meaning of it, the true meaning of it, and what we should learn from it, and more importantly, how it changes our practice, our sadhana. I've never heard that explained, the meaning explained adequately, and I don't know if it needs another half an hour.
Maybe not. Let's see. Let's start with the short answer.
Yes, please.
Now, the short answer is that we have discussed how the mother goddess is Shakti, is the power. So the power is powerful. And it is said that without Kali, Shiva is a dead body, Shava. Shiva without Shakti is Shava. Shava means dead body. You know the Shavasana?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So Shava means dead body. So they play on this, the word, Shiva and Shava. Now, you might have seen also a picture of Mother Kali breastfeeding Shiva, baby Shiva.
I have indeed.
This means that the mother is the mother. Shiva is in between the Vishnu Tattva and the Jiva Tattva. Shiva is Shiva Tattva. Now, maybe we can have this, this part can be expanded, but basically, the point is that Shiva is the son, like father, mother, son. Vishnu is the father, Adi Shakti is the mother, and Shiva is the son. It's the Trinity, the original Trinity. So, Shiva is subject to Shakti. Shiva,
so what this means, it connects the dots between what you said about Vishnu becoming Shiva in contact with material energy.
Exactly.
And
so,
and therefore is subservient to Shakti.
Well, it's not, subservient. It's a subservient gives bad idea.
Yes, it's an Abrahamic duality.
Yeah, it's the idea of inferiority. Now
I guess the word is more dependent.
Exactly, this is the problem. Yeah, I remember, our carbon inspirator saying that in spiritual mathematics, there is nothing is inferior. Everything is only superior, not inferior. There is no inferior. And also the invocation of many of the Upanishad, including the Sheyas Upanishad, the Is Upanishad, is Ampurnamadaha Purnamidam. We cannot calculate in terms of subservient or inferior or less than.
No, it's just that the conditioned mind looks at that.
Yeah, exactly. And then the conditioned mind will be wrong.
That's why I asked you about how we should view that, and more importantly, how we should take the true meaning of that into our daily thoughts and focus, if that makes sense.
The point is that, the Mother Goddess is supreme. It's not different from Vishnu. And Shiva is we can say not subservient, but maybe we can say secondary form.
Indeed, because you've said that milk turns to yogurt.
Exactly.
Beautiful
it's
analogy.
A derivative. Now, in this way, Adi Shakti is the mother of Shiva as well.
Because it's the potency. Yeah. It's the potency of Vishnu in essence.
That manifests Shiva, But, manifests Shiva as a transcendental. At the transcendental level, Shiva is not a material personality. But it's not Vishnu, it's not Jiva, it's Shiva Tattva. We'll talk about the Shiva Tattva next time.
Indeed, but it's a lovely, how shall we put it? It's a very relatable, image. It's a very relatable thing to conclude this whole topic, if that makes sense, isn't it, Mataji?
Yeah, sure. Also, there is another, circumstantial explanation that says because her mother Kali was very angry and she was going to destroy the world, blah blah blah. So Shiva said, "Okay, no." He put himself on the ground, so that she would calm down. and not burn the universe. You know, which is also nice.
But isn't that, Mataji, simply a secondary effect of what you've just described now?
Yeah, exactly.
Which is that
it is.
It's the power of, it's the potency of God. And Shiva takes the material form of God. It takes the form of God in the material world.
Yeah.
Therefore, by default, that picture can only represent what is the reality, in essence, isn't it, Mataji?
Yep. Exactly. Correct. Good.
Well, I think
Thanks.
that's been an excellent discussion, Mataji. We've covered some very excellent points. So I'd love to, I'd love to continue this with the Shiva Tattva, etc. But I'd just like to thank you for your seva, Mataji, and really drilling into some considerable detail this whole area. So my obeisances and
Jai Jagannath. Thank you.
Jai
Jai Shri Mannarayan.